I'm Leo and I'm 22 now. This whole thing happened a little over a year ago, the day I graduated college. You know, it's supposed to be a big deal, one of those memories you hold onto forever, the kind you put in a frame and talk about years later. But when you grow up feeling like you're just part of the furniture, not someone they really see, you don't expect much. Still, I kinda hoped just this once they'd actually be there for me. See, my little brother Marcus graduated high school the year before and they threw this huge party. Rented a whole banquet hall, had a photographer following him around like he was some kind of celebrity. My dad gave this big, heartfelt speech about how proud he was of Marcus, and at the end, they gave him this fancy box. Inside was a silver watch, engraved with his name and everything. Everyone went nuts, clapping like he was being crowned king or something. Then my graduation rolls around. College, not just high school, mind you, and I get a group text that morning. "We'll be there, don't worry." Should have known then. They did show up, I guess. My mom, dad, Aunt Cheryl, and Uncle Brian. Marcus skipped it, said he was too tired from staying out late. No flowers, no pictures, not even a crummy balloon. They were so stiff back there, barely even a clap when they called my name. Afterward, when I went over, they just stood around like I was some random person at my own graduation. My dad gave me a card, one of those generic ones with a graduation cap on it, and said, "Here, this is from all of us. Congratulations." He gave me a pat on the back, and then with that dry, fake laugh he does, said, "You're lucky we even remembered." I just stared at him, no laugh, no smile. Then my Uncle Brian, who always says I'm too sensitive, mumbled, "You've always been so ungrateful." It was one of those moments where time keeps moving, but you feel stuck. Everyone else just went back to what they were doing. My mom started rummaging through her purse. My aunt was on her phone. My dad had already turned away like nothing happened. I looked down at the card. No one had even bothered to sign it. So I took my diploma, turned, and walked straight to my car. Didn't say a word, didn't look back. I drove until the university was out of sight. Then I pulled over, shut off my phone, and just sat there. The silence was heavy like a weight on my chest. I didn't cry or yell or anything. I just felt numb. See, this wasn't just a one-time thing. This had been going on for years. I'm the oldest, but I was never the favorite. Marcus was the golden child, the soccer star. Everyone loved him. He was the one they always bragged about. Me? I was the serious one, the quiet one, the one glued to my books while Marcus was out having fun. My successes were always met with a casual good job, like it was nothing special. Where did that leave me? While Marcus got framed certificates and celebratory ice cream for a B in math, I'd tell myself it didn't matter. I'd convince myself that if I just kept pushing, got the perfect grades, found the right career, they'd finally see me. They'd finally be proud. But that day, sitting in my car with a blank card and a diploma nobody even wanted to look at, I lost all faith in someday. That night, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. When I finally turned it back on, there were missed calls, voicemails, and messages that ranged from "Are you okay?" to "You're making a big deal out of this." I ignored everything until around midnight when I saw a message from Aunt Cheryl. "What did you say to them? Your mom's in tears." And then nothing. That stopped me in my tracks. I hadn't said a word. I didn't respond. Not yet. The next morning, I woke up early and drove to the park close to my house. There's a hill there with a view of the whole town. I sat there with my coffee, just trying to figure out what to do. I wasn't raging mad, not the screaming, door-slamming kind of way. I was just exhausted, sick of always being an afterthought, sick of pretending a casual compliment could replace genuine love. Sick of being told I should be thankful for the leftovers when Marcus got the entire spread. The quiet from my folks lasted for 3 days. Then on day 4, Marcus called. I let it go to voicemail. He called again. And again. Then a text popped up. "Dude, my mom is losing it. Can you just let them know where you are?" I didn't text him back. Instead, I started making plans. See, they didn't know this yet, but I had already landed a job, one I hadn't mentioned to them. It was in another state, paid pretty well, good opportunities to move up, and best of all, a long way away. But there was more to it. I'd been helping out with some of the money stuff. My parents' money stuff. They had a harder time than they let on, and for the past couple of years, I'd been secretly covering some of the costs. A few mortgage payments here, a late car insurance bill there. It wasn't a ton each time, but I kept the lights on more than once. They never said thanks. I never asked them to. It wasn't because I had to. It was just a habit fueled by guilt and hope that maybe they would see what I did for them, but that hope died the day they said what they did. I was just lucky they even remembered I stopped paying, so I waited and waited. Until a week later, my mom called, not to say sorry, not to ask how I was doing, but to ask about the mortgage. "Leo," she said, "did something happen with the mortgage company? We got a notice. Are you sure you sent the last payment?" I stared at my phone, my thumb over the reply button, and then I wrote back, "You're lucky I remembered right." and then I killed the phone again. What happened after that, that's when things went south. It wasn't a sudden explosion, you know? It was more gradual, like a slow drip, drip, drip from a leaky faucet you keep ignoring until the whole kitchen's flooded. I finally turned my phone back on after 2 days, and whoa, it was a total meltdown in the family group chat. My mom had gone bonkers, starting all sweet and confused. Something like, "Hey, sweetie, looks like the mortgage payment bounced. Maybe it's a bank mix-up." Then it got frantic. "Leo, please call me. This is a huge deal. They're sending another notice next week." And then the big guilt trip. "I can't believe you do this to your own parents after everything we've done for you." I almost choked on my coffee laughing at that. Everything they've done for me? Seriously, a discount store birthday card and a little back patting. My whole life, it was just constant comparisons to Marcus, like I was some cheap imitation that always fell short. I didn't bother answering. Next thing I know, it's Marcus texting. "Dude, are you ignoring the whole family? Just call mom, she's freaking out." But I still didn't say anything. Then, boom, everything really fell apart. That weekend, the mortgage company called me. Technically, the loan was still in my name because I'd helped them refinance during the pandemic. My parents had terrible credit back then, and I, being a naive idiot, co-signed. They couldn't have done it without me. So finally, after all this time, they were facing the music. Those payments I'd pulled? Yeah, they were feeling the heat. I didn't bother answering the loan company, but when Aunt Cheryl called again, I picked up. She didn't scream or lecture me. She just said real quiet like, "Leo, what happened?" I could have told her the truth, you know. I could have spilled everything, how sick I was of being a nobody, of giving and getting nothing back, of always being the one to bail them out. Nobody ever said thank you. But instead, I just kinda mumbled something, asked her a question, and hung up. That night, I crammed the rest of my stuff into 2 suitcases. I left all the furniture behind. I'd sold what I could online and donated the rest. I tossed the last of my groceries, dropped my key on the counter, and that was it. The moving truck had already hauled off the few boxes I'd kept that morning. I didn't tell anyone where I was going, not even my college buddies. I just vanished. My new job was in Seattle. Fresh start, new scenery, no baggage. I got settled in quick. Being alone was so normal to me that loneliness didn't even slow me down. Within a month, I had a new routine. A quiet apartment and a peace I hadn't felt in ages. No more texts about late bills, no more guilt trips, just quiet. But back home, things were falling apart. My mom started calling every day, then texting. When I didn't answer, she tried different things. Emails, she sent me emails. She even contacted one of my old professors. And then she started messaging my friends on Instagram. Each message was more frantic than the last. My dad, man. He never said anything directly, but I got it from Mr. Flanders, you know, that retired guy 2 doors down from my parents, always waved when I cut their grass. He told me they were fighting almost every night. Yelling, doors slamming, mom crying on the porch. Then they missed a mortgage payment, and another one. Before long, foreclosure papers started showing up. It wasn't like I was trying to wreck their lives, I swear. I never planned for things to get this bad. But I wasn't going to be their human shield anymore either. The final blow? A letter. It showed up in Seattle 2 months after I'd moved. No return address, but mom's handwriting was all over it. 2 pages. One was a picture me, 6 years old, holding up a Lego spaceship, grinning like an idiot. The other was the note. It said, "We don't know what we did wrong. If we were too hard on you, we didn't mean to be. We thought you were strong, stronger than us. I'm sorry. Please come home, or at least tell us where you are. Love, Mom." I sat there for ages with that letter, read it, reread it over and over. And for the first time in ages, I bawled, not because I'd suddenly forgiven her, but because she finally saw it. She finally saw the damage she'd helped cause. Then, like the universe was waiting for that moment, my phone rang. Some number I didn't know. I answered. It was Marcus. He didn't scream, he didn't plead. He just said, "Leo, Dad's in the hospital." He collapsed, stressed. The doctors think. "Mom's a mess. She won't even touch food. I knew things were awful. I get it, you're hurt, but please just talk to them, seriously." Then he said, real low this time, "They're losing everything and they think they already lost you." And that's when it hit me. They weren't losing me. I'd been gone for ages. They just didn't realize it until everything fell apart. I looked out at the city, at all the space I'd made for myself without them, and mumbled to myself. They only noticed when I left. Marcus was still waiting. I didn't say anything right away. He stayed on the line, quiet, probably thinking I was just trying to figure out what to say. But I wasn't. I was staring at myself in the window, this worn-out, grown-up version of the kid they used to ignore. Finally, I said, "He's in the hospital." Marcus let out a huge breath like I'd just cracked a frozen pond. "Yeah," he said. "High blood pressure, stress, maybe his heart. They're still running tests. He collapsed in the kitchen. Mom found him." I paused. "Is he okay now?" "They're keeping him overnight. Mom's with him. She hasn't left his side." I could totally picture it. Her crying in the corner, dabbing her eyes with a crumpled tissue from her purse, holding onto that hospital bracelet like it was a holy relic. My dad, all tough guy act in that stiff hospital bed, still trying to pretend it was all just a coincidence. Like years of ignoring things, piling on the pressure and depending on me, a son he never really made room for, had nothing to do with it. Marcus was talking quieter now. Look, I get it, okay? They messed up. They really messed up with you, Leo. I didn't even see it until you were gone. Everything just fell apart. I almost snapped back something sarcastic and mean like, yeah, life without a doormat is tough, huh? But I didn't. I just said, you saw it. You just didn't care. He was quiet. That one hit home. Then he just said, you're right. No fight, no excuses. Just, I should have spoken up. I should have noticed. I guess I liked being the favorite. Didn't want to rock the boat. Man, I'd waited forever to hear that, longer than I even realized. But the thing is, it didn't change anything. The damage was done, a scar stitched up over years of quiet disappointments on birthdays, feeling overlooked, always being compared. I let the silence hang there for a bit before asking, why are you really calling me Marcus? He hesitated. I don't know, he said. Maybe I thought if anyone could calm them down, it would be you. They're scared. Dad's scared. And Mom keeps saying your name like it's a prayer. She thinks if you came back, things would suddenly make sense. That part almost made me chuckle. So now I'm their magic solution, I said. Does she think saying my name will pay the bills? So did she really think remembering me now would magically pay off the house? He didn't say anything, so I just kept talking. You want to know why I split? It wasn't just about graduation or even all those years singing backup for Marcus. It was because, finally, I saw things clearly. They never really saw me, you know, not as a person, just as a part of their lives. I was the responsible one, the quiet one, the one they leaned on and then completely forgot. I only mattered when I was useful to them. I could hear him breathing on the phone. He wasn't fighting back anymore. He was listening, finally. On graduation day, it hit me they hadn't forgotten my gift or the celebration. They remembered me perfectly, just not in a good way. That generic card, that pat on the back, that was the truest thing they ever said to me. Another long silence. Then Marcus, his voice all shaky, barely a whisper, said, "So, what now?" And that was the question that had been bouncing around my head for weeks. What now? Do I run back and be the emotional punching bag for parents who only noticed me when I stopped being their cushion? Do I let them drag me back in like a fish they tossed back years ago only to suddenly crave it again? Or do I let them stew in it, the loneliness, the consequences of years spent favoring the wrong kid? So I said real calm, now they find out what life's like when the person they ignored becomes someone they can't even reach. Marcus didn't argue, didn't plead. He just said, okay, I get it. So he hung up, and you know what? I didn't even cry, no screaming fit, nothing. I just sat there like I was soaking in a hot tub. It was the first time I really felt like I was the one making the decisions, you know? The very next day, I called the mortgage company. I told them to yank my name off that loan officially. It was a bit of a hassle, but because the payments were behind and I hadn't signed that renewal thing they sent ages ago, I was totally off the hook. Then I blocked everyone except Marcus on my phone. A whole week went by, then another. Crickets, not a single text. Radio silence from the people who used to guilt-trip me constantly. Then one night, right before bed, I got an email from my mom. It was short, just a few lines. She said she got it now, that we'd messed things up bad, and she didn't know if we could fix it. But if we ever could, they'd be waiting. No pressure, no guilt trips, just waiting. Love, Mom. I didn't answer it right away. Not that night, not the next day. It just sat there in my inbox like some old letter I found at the bottom of a box, all faded and forgotten too late to mean anything. But real forgiveness, I learned, isn't about saying everything's okay. It's not pretending nothing happened or slapping some band-aid on it and pretending it's healed. It's about letting go of the burden even if the mark's still there. A couple of months went by after Marcus called. My job in Seattle kept me pretty busy. I fell into a routine: early mornings, strong coffee, and after-work walks where nobody knew me. I could just be Leo, you know? No responsibilities, just me. Going back wasn't even a thought. It wasn't that I hated them, it was that I was finally living a life that wasn't all about making amends for everyone else. Then one crummy Saturday, I woke up to a message from Marcus. His voice was all tight and worn out. "Hey," he said, "Dad's home. He's all right, but not himself. They lost the house foreclosure last week. They're bunking with Aunt Cheryl in the basement. It's rough. I think they finally get it, you know. I don't know if it fixes anything, but they're different. Really quiet, like scary quiet. They still talk about you every day." He paused. Then he said, "I think you won, Leo. I think they finally saw you." I didn't know what to do with that. I just sat there, replaying those words over and over in my head. I think you won. It wasn't about revenge, though. Never was. What I really wanted was for them to see me not just what I could do for them, but who I was. All the stuff I carried, all the effort I put in to make things easy for everyone else while getting practically nothing in return. I didn't call Marcus back right away, but his words kept swirling around in my head. 3 days later, I booked a flight. Didn't tell a soul. Just landed, grabbed a rental car, and drove straight to Aunt Cheryl's. It was pouring rain. Of course it was. The house seemed smaller than I recalled, or maybe I'd just grown. It's weird how that works when you finally get away. I pulled up across the street and just sat there for a while, staring at the lights inside, how they'd turn on and off. Through the blinds, I could make out shapes moving, a person here and there, a shadow near the window, and someone passing a plate at the table. Finally, I got out, walked over, and knocked. Aunt Cheryl opened the door. Her eyes went wide like she'd seen a ghost. "Leo," she breathed. I just nodded. "Can I come in?" She didn't say anything, just moved to the side. The house smelled like pot roast and that old, musty carpet, comforting but also tight. I walked down the hall into the kitchen where I could hear the silverware, and then I saw them. My mom was at the table, her back to me. My dad was across from her, looking thinner, his shoulders slumped like a deflated balloon. Marcus was next to him, and he looked up when I walked in. My mom turned around, and she just stood there for a second, silent. No one said a word. She stood up slowly like her legs weren't working right. Then quietly, "Leo." I just nodded, didn't smile, didn't cry, just, "Hi, Mom." She put her hands over her mouth. Dad didn't move. His eyes were locked on mine, red and full of something I hadn't seen in years, not pride, not anger, grief. "We didn't know if we'd ever see you again," Mom whispered. "I know," I said. Marcus stood up. "I'll leave you guys alone for a bit." He walked out, and Cheryl trailed after him, carefully shutting the door. It was just us three now. The silence was heavy. Finally, my dad coughed, breaking the tension. I don't even know where to begin." "How about the beginning?" I suggested. He nodded, a little shaky. "Right, the beginning." He stared at his hands. "We messed up, Leo, big time." My mom started to cry then. His voice shook as he continued. "We took your dependability for granted. We relied on you, figured you'd handle everything. And when you did, we acted like it was just what you were supposed to do." I didn't say a word, just let him go on. "Marcus was always so loud, always demanding attention. You were quieter, more solid, we thought. We thought you didn't need anything from us," I finished for him. "Everyone needs something." Mom moved closer, twisting her hands together. "We can't take back what we did, but I want you to know that we get it now. We see you. We really do, and I don't care if you never forgive us. I just needed you to know how sorry we are." There it was. No easy fix, no magic reset button, just the truth. I nodded slowly, and then I said something I hadn't planned on. "I forgive you." Mom completely lost it then. Dad buried his face in his hands. But then I added, "Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. Things aren't going back to normal. I'm not the son who picks up the slack anymore, the one who gets blamed. I'm not your second choice. I'm not an afterthought. I'm just me now. And if you want to have a relationship with me, it has to be real. It has to be equal, and it has to be respectful." They both agreed with me like it was a huge relief. We spent hours that evening just chatting. We didn't talk about the house payment or my sister's upcoming college graduation or all the tough times we'd been through. We talked about life, about who I had turned into, and about who they were starting to figure out how to be. I didn't sleep over. I said my goodbyes, hugged my mom really close, and shook my dad's hand. Yep, shook his hand. Then I headed out into the rain. As I drove off, the wipers going back and forth, I felt something I hadn't felt in forever. It was a lightness. I was free. Not because they had changed, but because I had set my boundaries, walked away, and stood my ground. When I went back, it was on my terms. I didn't go back home defeated. I went back as someone new. And for the first time ever, they finally understood that the story was ending there. Not with getting even, but with being proven right. Not with things falling apart, but with things making sense. And sometimes, that's the best kind of getting back at someone. Not seeing them crumble, but watching them finally grow up.